Madam Chair, and let me just say, I mean, we're hearing some discussion about Secretary Granholm is obsessed with this and obsessed with that. I think what they're obsessed with is finding ways to save the consumers money and saving them undue costs. That's what this is all about. These efficiency standards that have already been put into place, Mr. Plone pointed out, are going to save consumers billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in the next several years. So I mean, I would rather do that, save consumers money, than merely pad the pockets of the fossil fuel industry. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Pallone, and thank you, Mr. Duncan, for being here. And for the sake of moving things along, I'm not going to repeat what I said in my opening statement, but it just seems like Republicans think energy efficiency is a bad thing, which is at odds with what the vast majority of Americans think. But putting that aside, Mr. Duncan, are you aware that this bill was noticed to come before the Rules Committee 2 weeks ago?
Could you repeat that?
Are you aware that this bill that we're now talking about was noticed to come before the Rules Committee 2 weeks ago?
I'm not. That's above my pay grade, sir.
Well, it was. And are you also aware that the committee planned to bring up 4 other appliance-related bills at the time, in addition to the one that we're currently considering?
I'm fine with that, and wish they would bring them all up.
Okay.
Because there is a war on the American consumer.
I guess my question to you is why the change? I mean, you're here on behalf of the House leadership to talk about this appliance, why this appliance bill should come to the floor. Can you explain to us why the 4 other appliance bills are not being considered again, but this one is?
Again, that's a question for leadership. That's above my pay grade. I'm a lowly subcommittee chairman on energy, but I will say this bill came through regular order through subcommittee and full committee after hearings and markup.
Are you aware what the titles of the other bills were that were supposed to come before this committee?
Again, I'm
Well,
not.
let me read you the titles. One of them was the Liberty in Laundry Act. Another was the Refrigerator Freedom Act. And here's why I think we're not considering those bills, because I think they're an embarrassment to this institution. I mean, it seems to me Republican leadership probably realized the irony of bringing up a bill about freedom for refrigerators while simultaneously taking freedom away from millions of women in this country by overturning Roe versus Wade. And maybe they realized it was a bad look to talk about liberty in laundry while simultaneously trying to take away liberty for people who want to use IVF. And I would just say that when we use words like freedom and liberty, this is the United States Congress. These are words that are written into our founding documents, ideas Americans have fought and died for. In Ukraine right now, soldiers and civilians are being killed because they are standing up for these very principles. And when your side throws those words around and talks about refrigerator freedom, it cheapens them. And it degrades those words, and it degrades this institution. So I'm glad that Republicans realized how silly and frivolous these bills are, and that they pulled them from today's hearing. I'm not sure that they are banned. They will be pulled forever. But I'm going to take that as a semi-positive sign because, I mean, it was laughable, given all that is happening in this country and all that is happening in this world, that the bills that contain the words freedom and liberty are about household appliances. I mean, we have to start getting serious around here about what is important and what is not. And again, bills that are aimed at trying to save consumers money, trying to promote energy efficiency, yes, trying to wean us off of fossil fuels. I mean, I think we can have a debate on that, but to use words like freedom and liberty with regard to refrigerators and wash machines, I just think is an embarrassment. And I don't have any questions.
Could I?
Yeah, I'll yield to Mr. Pallone.
Well, let me just say I totally agree with you. In fact, when I saw those labels for the bills in the committee, I was wondering if maybe, somebody had substituted them for the real thing. I was kind of surprised that the Republicans themselves used those labels for the bills, to be perfectly honest. But I just wanted to say quickly 2 things. you raised. One is the whole issue of affordability. And, I really believe that in our committee, we have highlighted affordability, not only for, to make, save costs on appliances, but also on things like the Affordable Connectivity Fund to help people pay for their internet, to subsidize and help people pay for their health care. I mean, the list goes on, and that's been a hallmark, I think, of the Democrats' initiative in our committee. So I appreciate you bringing up the whole issue of affordability, because that's what we're all about as Democrats. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, one of the things that was quite clear when the Secretary of Energy came before us last week, I believe, was that this administration believes in an all of the above energy policy, right? Mr. Duncan, Chairman Duncan and Chairman Burgess talked about the war on fossil fuels. More oil, more natural gas is being produced now with this administration than any time before. We just came through this committee to a nuclear package to try to expand the use of nuclear power. Now, not everybody agrees with that. The fact of the matter is we're increasing everything, right? But we also prioritize trying to move towards renewables because we think that we need to move towards renewables because the day of fossil fuels is, at some point, there aren't going to be any fossil fuels around anymore, and they continue to contribute to climate change and increased greenhouse gases. So we want to prioritize renewables, but by no means did the Secretary suggest anything other than an all-of-above policy. So this idea of a war on energy is just nonsense, frankly. So I yield back.
No, and I thank you. And again, as I said in my opening statement, energy efficiency is not a bad thing. Saving consumers money is not a bad thing. Only, in a Congress that is run by Republicans, are those things considered undesirable. And again, I would just end by, again, repeating that whoever is coming up with your agenda, freedom for refrigerators and liberty in laundry, ought to be reminded that this is the United States Congress. This is not Saturday Night Live. This is supposed to be a serious place, and it's about time we acted like it. With that,